Go.
Okay, students, just like I promised you today, we're doing another video. We do have one out there already with the 180 haircut, 180 degree haircut, and it's out there with front to back, side to side, but you can't ever get enough information. It's always good to just keep learning and keep getting and keep growing. So anyways, what I wanted to show you, I want to do you students are supposed to diagram all your haircuts. Like I've told you, if you write it down, you get it. If you don't, then that's when you're lost a little bit. How did I do it the last time? At least you can go back to your instructions. The way that we're going to do it today is the side to side, and you're going to find out what that means. Initially, we're going to cut the hair side to side. We're going to elevate it straight up and continue cutting it side to side. When we're finished with the top we're going to do first. The first mannequin I did, I'll show it to you in just a little bit so you can kind of see it a little bit drier now. The hair's moved around a little bit. You remember what it looked like before when it was just a straight A-line. The longest part of the head was above the parietal line. Now it's shorter and is becoming to look a little bit more layered as opposed to one length coming down. So once we've achieved the top, all right, now this is going to make sense to you because I'm going to repeat this when I do the side to side first. Then you're going to take vertical partings. The parietal line is your guide. All these partings, as you take them up, they're going to stand up right there. You're going to take a small section off of the top so that you can have a guide. So as I do this cut side to side, you'll understand that. So anyways, these sides, each one will be picked up and it's all going to go to the parietal line. So they're going to stay real close. Where you're going to have a situation is when we get to the back of the head. And I'm going to draw just a side version here. Remember the question mark, a number 1, a number 2, and then you have a head form. All right, and you know all 14 parts of the head because that's how we break it down into miniature pieces. All right, so there's your parietal line. We've sectioned off the flat part of the head. We went tip of the ear to tip of the ear horizontal, and then, you know, normally for the class we sectioned it off in half because I was going to do 1/2 side to side, 1/2 front to back. Now I'm going to do a whole cut side to side, take it down, and then do a whole cut front to back, so that you see it and understand it. This other mannequin's pretty long. So like I told you with the A-line mannequin that I did, we ran out of hair just slightly below the lower ridge. So that basically everything just right at the lower ridge was brought up. On the flat part of the head, we got down to the temple a little bit because the hair came down. See, shorter here, longer here, so it's going to come up. All right, so then what we're going to do, and you know, we've already done that, so what you do in the back, you're going to take vertical partings and bring it straight up, and the parietal line is still the wall that you're building. It's all been cut inside, you know, that this is a traveling guide. It then becomes a stationary guide, in other words, one place once you get below the parietal line. So those are going to be held straight up. The thing about this, and I will show you again, you can see that I'm traveling around the head. So this isn't all held in this direction, it's going to travel around, and I'll be explaining that as I do it. So I'm going to go ahead and start the haircut. We're going to adjust the camera so that it fits, and I want to make sure that the cameraman sees. It's going to be this long, cameraman, so when I cut, if you can get it. Mm-hmm. All right, so I'm still going to part it down the center. Still going to take that center part. There's a nose, right? So there's my center part. You still do that. All right, so I'm going to bring one side over this way, one side over this way. We're literally going to be going from this side to the other side. We're going to hold it straight up. This then becomes a traveling guide. The previously cut hair becomes a guide for the hair behind it. So let me just give you an example here. And can you see it all, cameraman?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So I'm going to bring this straight up at this point, and I'm going to measure it to the chin. That's how much I'm going to take off, right there. Take off a good 4 inches. Now, do you see where it's all perfectly straight? Straight, straight. I'm going to cut it across because we're going side to side. All right, one little piece there. All right, I'm going to bring that forward. I'm going to take just a small section here, skinny, skinny section, see it? The rest of the hair's on the bottom. Then I'm going to take another 1/2 inch subsection and bring that hair back to this hair that I sectioned out to be the guide. And there I can see those short hairs, you see them? That's where I'm cutting. All right. Take another skinny section, bring that hair forward. Do you see how the guide now, this is what I'm saying, is traveling back? So I'm doing half the head right now, making sure the entire time that everything is held straight up, and you can see those shorter little hairs in there. And I take that off right to that guide. Again, just keep going back. Section it off, bring it up. You can see those short hairs right there, and I'm bringing it straight up, not to the side, straight up. What happens when hair moves, when hair travels? If I pull it this way, it's traveling, isn't it? Yes, it becomes longer in the area that it traveled. So I'm going to take this all the way back to the vertex. I'm going to stand on the side now for you to see it. And I'm taking it all the way back. I'm going to take just a small section there. Taking this again. There's my guide, straight up. Cut it across. Bring that forward. Take just a skinny section there. See it? And then I match it to this. That's my guide. Bring it straight up. Okay? As I come to the crown, do you see where that slightly triangular shape there? So I still take it across. Take a small piece. Being that this has now become the rounded part of the head. And then finally this very last piece, I can just blend it in with that. There you go. That's been cut. All right, now I'm going to keep that over there. I'm still cutting it side to side. Now this hair right here becomes my guide for this side so that it's perfectly straight across. Makes it so much easier because now I just pick it straight up, the parietal line. You see that previously cut hair? There you go. Drop that, small section. Take it all the way to the parietal line, bring it straight up. There's my guide. You see that guide right there. And I'm holding it again straight up. I'm not having to pull a section off now. I have a guide on the other side. So this is doing it side to side. So this teaches you just a little bit more. Now when we do it side to side, this cut, you're going to get a little bit more movement. A little bit more hair is going to pop out a little more as opposed to curving under. And again, I'm still, let me turn it around here so you can see it. Okay, so I'm at the parietal line. I'm almost at the vertex. I grabbed a side off the other side or picked that up. And all I need is the last hair cut from the other side. See that? There's my guide. So I just cut it. I want to hold it straight up. Make sure I'm not leaning it forward. Now I'm at the rounded part of the parietal line. And again, this is the wall. See that? There's my guide. This is the wall that I'm creating with the parietal line. All right, so I have that done. I've done the top, side to side. You saw that. Now, do I need to go back and check? No, I've got a pretty good idea that it's straight. Where's the nose? There's the nose, center part. Okay, so now the sides. When you're doing it side to side, anything below the parietal line becomes a vertical section to be brought up. So I'm going to take it, bring it straight down to the hairline, where the temple is, where the sideburn is. Bring that straight up. Now you see that? It's moved into and laying close to the parietal line. That's done. Go to the next section. The wall for the parietal line becomes my guide for anything underneath it. So I can pick up the whole thing if I want, or I could just, and I'll show you what you could do, but see there, you can really see your guide. Make sure your fingers are straight and you're not leaning them in any direction, that your fingers are straight coming out. All right. You could also take it off at the apex and only use the upper ridge as your guide. See it? There's your upper ridge. The apex is right here. I don't need all of that hair. So I'm going to bring this up. And this is off the side. And there's the hair that needs to be cut. And again, remember, I'm at the side of the head. Now, as you travel back, this is where it doesn't get tricky, but you have to watch where you're at to see where you're going. Now, I've sectioned off a section slightly above the parietal line. Do you see that? Almost into the vertex. Definitely right into the vertex and almost into the apex. So the vertex is just above the parietal line. We know that. So I've taken all that out. Now, I'm at the area just as the head starts curving. This is the most rounded area of the head. So I'm going to take it, and I've got my section. I'm going to take it straight down, and I have this side as well that is going to help me. Now, do I need to take it all the way down? And see, there's very little that is going to be cut. Do I need to bring this up? No, it's not long enough at the nape. So it's basically at the nape line. So once you know where you're at, now you see where I was at? My fingers were in this form. Now, as I travel around, my fingers are going to be in this form to travel around the head. I'm not going to take this and bring it over to this side. It's exactly right there in the area that I've sectioned off, taking it all the way to the perimeter line or the hairline, bringing it straight up, and very little to be cut, but you notice now the fingers are pointing back. As it curves around the head, I'm bringing everything straight up, and I've got it, and let it curve around the head. See, that's not long enough. Now, instead of, remember, you don't ever travel around. Side to center, side to center. So it creates a more uniform cut when you do that. So now, remember before my fingers were pointed in that direction? Now they're pointing towards the scalp, because that's the rounded area that it's at. All right, so now they're going to point slightly towards the scalp, but not all the way into the scalp. There you go. See the angle? It's changed the angle a bit. There's my guide from the front, and that fell back. All right, now point away. This is just for convenience, because I'm teaching you. And I've got my section there. Very little that needs to be cut. Get that last section up there, and I'm going to grab a bunch of hair and bring it, however, to that section. Oh, there's nothing to be cut, maybe just a couple little hairs right there. So this is extremely layered. And, oops, I haven't done this side yet. So I need to do this side. Did the other side, and then I just started traveling around to the back. So let's go back. So this part of the head, this flat part of the head, bring a small piece down because we've got to stay at the parietal line, right? Bring it down to the hairline or perimeter line. Bring it straight up to the parietal line, pair of eyes. It's right above the eyes. And now we're pointing it straight this way. So it's flat, we stay flat. Now we took off a little more there. And I'm going to bring this up, blend it all. And the thing about this haircut, as I showed you, I don't want you cheating though. I would ask you not to cheat. How do you check it? This is the basis for learning the flat top. We've cut the top flat. Everything was cut across. The thing here with the longer hair, we're doing it side to side and coming down vertically. All right? You can see the movement. Look at all that movement in that hair. The way that you can tell if you did it right, you see how it's flat? Everything was taken and cut straight across. It's flat. It's flat. Okay? That's how you check it. Hold it in front of a mirror to see it. When we did this one, this is the mannequin that we did in class, and this is one that you've seen already when we did the color. So look at the layers in the back now from taking it up. We haven't, you still created even more volume. So instead of coming straight down and cupping under, you can see a lot more movement. It's still longer on the sides because the sides are longer. And when we traveled up, we were able to come down to the lower ridge. When we did it at the back, we were only able to come up just slightly below the parietal line because the lower ridge was shorter along the back of the head, following the occipital area. Okay? So yeah, you can see all that movement that we got from this cut on this mannequin. Much softer, much nicer. You see all that? I mean, and this was only blow dried, but yet you can see that nice movement that it created because now we don't have the weightiness. How much time do I have, cameraman?
12 minutes.
12 minutes. All right, so now what I'm going to do, I'm going to just part this off at the parietal line real quick. Come around. And parietal line is right there. Remember, once it starts going down, that becomes the side of the head, no longer the parietal line. All right, so we're going to subsection it pretty much the same way.